You want my advice?
Yes, please.
You're not gonna like it.
That's okay.
You got married too fast.
That's not advice.
I told you.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. I don't know, DC Comics and John Kent Superman are the gift that keep on giving as we get into the DC Comics solicitations for January 2022. Just came out at the end of the week. Just a little bit of information before we get into the Superman Son of Kal-El number 7 cover. Deathstroke Inc. is not canceled. It did not get canceled after issue number 1. There was some misinformation as far as the solicit goes. It is going to continue to be an ongoing series. They haven't changed anything up, and you should expect to see that series continue on. So that was a bad headline where actually it was DC's fault. They put out some bad information. Number 2, as far as the Batman content goes, there are 62 new comics in January 2022 solicitations. There are a couple that went into February, and obviously there was some stuff in January from the previous solicitations. But there are 62 new comics. A whopping 25%, or 16, are led by Batman himself. 58% are led by Batman, star Batman in a team book, or are led by a Batman-associated character like a Nightwing, Harley Quinn. So 58% of all of the 62 comics are led by Batman-related or Batman himself. So only 42% of DC comics in January 2022 are non-Batman comics. And on the good news, there's only 5 number 1 issues for about, I think it's 8%. Batman continues to be hogging the spotlight in DC comics. Now let's get on to this guy, the cover you just can't miss. Obviously, John Kent, specifically Superman Son of Kal-El number 5 has been in the news. DC Comics did a big rollout, did a big press release for the coming out of John Kent as being bisexual. I have been talking about this character from issue number 1. Of course, we did address the gay rumor and the fact that he did come out as bisexual being confirmed. But I guess the dog needed to move. But I've been talking about how Tom Taylor, the writer, is just using John Kent as a mouthpiece for all of his political and social stances. And that eventually he will end up being a tyrant when he decides to use his Superman power to basically impose his will on the people of Earth and make them live the life that Tom Taylor believes that they should live. And that's why Clark Kent Superman is a problem. And you get this a cover like this right here, where you have Superman, obviously the most powerful character in the DC universe. Even if it's John Kent, you've also got an Aquaman behind him, and I believe Jay Nakamura is also somehow like a meta-human. He's got some powers or whatever. And they're all holding signs up about political change or climate change. And of course, you got this big sea monster in the back, which they're completely ignoring, which is an immediate threat to everyone to murder them, because the real problem, of course, is climate change. As if it's the most simple topic in the history of the world, that there's only one right answer to these things, that the debate is already over. And of course, John Kent is the champion of whatever it is that Tom Taylor actually believes right now. There's also some really stupid signs in here. You have one character holding a sign that says, "There's no planet B." Well, there fucking sure is in DC Comics universe. There are plenty of inhabitable planets for Earthlings all over the universe. It's completely been established. There are other multiverses that people could go to where perhaps Earth was in better shape. That's why bringing these issues that are happening in the real world, like these kind of complicated issues, into the DC universe doesn't really fit. It doesn't really work, because you do have people like a Superman, you have an Aquaman, you have Swamp Thing, you have these characters that could essentially fix all these problems. And if we were going to get destroyed by an asteroid, they could just put us on another planet. There are literally answers to all of these problems that we're really dealing with every day, because there are superheroes and people that actually address them. That's why it doesn't fit in, and it's just more pandering. It's another example of what Superman, John Kent being Superman, is being used for as Tom Taylor. It's not being used to tell the best Superman stories he could ever possibly put together. It's being used as a sounding board for his own personal opinions on complex social issues and politics. And get used to it. This is Superman. This is what Superman is. He's not about saving people anymore. He's about imposing his will and letting you know you're living your life wrong if you're not living it under his terms. Just like other woke activists out there like Tom Taylor. Now, with that, let's get into the full DC Comics solicitations. There's a comic or two in here worth talking about, and definitely I've got my lead pipe lock of the month for the comic book you're definitely going to want to read. And there's a lot of jokes to be had, a lot of fun to be had at some of these really bad solicitations. Let's get to it. First up, not surprisingly, being solicited is a Batman comic, Batman One Dark Knight #2, written and illustrated by Jacques. This is going to be part of the DC Black Label series, so it's going to be 78 pages, plus size format, Prestige Plus format, where it's going to be bigger. It's going to be magazine size, $7, issue 2 of 3. With the power out across Gotham, Batman must haul the not particularly cooperative villain responsible EMP across miles of chaotic streets filled with terrified people and opportunistic criminals. I know a lot of people are really excited about this, and I do think it'll likely look very good. But I don't know. As far as Batman stuff, it doesn't seem all that interesting. Here we have Batman the Night #1. This is the Chip Zdarsky Carbine. I'm not going to try to say that last name. Series that I talked about a couple of days on the channel. $5, 40 pages. And of course, it's going to have the cardstock $6 variant as well. I love Chip Zdarsky. I really like what he's done with Batman when given the opportunity. I am going to read this. I am absolutely a customer for this comic book right here. But I know how Bruce Wayne became Batman. I don't think there's any blanks left to fill in. Batman 119. Here we see Abyss on the cover. Joshua Williamson, Jorge Molina, Abyss Part 2. Who is Batman Inc.'s new benefactor? Obviously, we are getting into the Batman Inc. mystery. I think a lot of people are excited about that, to revisit the Grant Morrison days with Batman Inc. Could be interesting. I don't think Joshua Williamson is a permanent party on Batman. I think he is a short-term fix until they bring in whoever the real Batman writer is going to be. I'll read it because I do This Week in Batman. Otherwise, I would not invest in this because it feels like filler, in my opinion. Detective Comics 1049. And it says 1049. We're going to hit 1050 here. But 1047 and 48 are also solicited later because they're releasing Detective Comics weekly starting in January for the Shadows of the Bat event, which is falling right on the heels of Fear State, which I think has been an absolute disaster. You should watch that video if you haven't. Mariko Tamaki with Ivan Reis as the artist is bound to look very good. Once again, I'm going to have to read it because it's a Batman event. I do an entire show about Batman, but this isn't anything that I'm really excited for. I'm fatigued out. I read way too many Batman comics as it is. Getting Detective Comics weekly feels like a chore, and we know Batman in Batman is going to be out of Gotham. Why is he still in Gotham in Detective Comics? It's a clusterfuck, to be completely honest. Here's Detective Comics 1050, the fake event, the fake milestone that doesn't exist, with a backup story. It looks like Mark Waid and Dan Mora are going to be doing some type of Batman Superman World's Finest. Don't know if it's going to be a mini-series or just a backup stories. I think this is the introduction of its own series. It's fake milestone. Whatever. It's going to be, it's only $60 though, I guess. Or $60. $6. $7 cardstock. And we do have the Batman Catwoman special #1 being rescheduled. Obviously, this is the book that John Paul Leon, JPL, was working on when he unfortunately passed away at far too early an age. Obviously, Tom King is writing this, and there are going to be some type of tributes to him. Let's see what they have to say about this comic, which was solicited for earlier. It's been pushed back once, and now, obviously, very understandably, you could see it. We saw it pushed back again. Some great romances are destined to be. Batman Catwoman series shows readers a romance between Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle as it changed over their lives. Well, what about their connections from before they became costume adventures? This special, meticulously illustrated one-off issue by John Paul Leon traces the life of Selena Kyle from its earliest days to her entry into the criminal underworld and reveals that Bruce was actually a presence in her life all along. Okay, so they're borrowing from the TV show Gotham. Whether fate or coincidence, this story gives even more reasons why Selena and Bruce's connection is one of the most enduring love affairs in comics. I will be reading this. Definitely interested in the art, but that story sounds awful. But it does continue, now expanded to celebrate the legacy of iconic artist John Paul Leon, whose untimely passing after a long battle with cancer shocked the comics world. This special will feature his work completed for the original story and tributes created in his name by some of the closest friends and admirers. So it's definitely going to be something worth checking out. Just that it's somebody that an artist that you admire's final works, and you're going to get to see some of their friends and admirers pay tribute to a comic career that was unfortunately cut short. So story sounds like whatever. The art should be fantastic, and it's definitely worth reading, in my opinion. Catwoman 39. My goodness, Tinny Howard makes her way to DC Comics. My God, DC is just. Can a comic publisher commit suicide? I know that's the question. You tell me. It feels like it. Dark Knights of Steel, number 3. Tom Taylor, Yasmin Putri. I'm so far off of this thing. Tom Taylor, just with his work on Superman, Son of Kal-El, I've talked about it before. That dude has absolutely turned me off. I'm not even going to read this. I'm not reading Dark Age like I'd planned. I'll continue reading Superman, Son of Kal-El and Nightwing and let you know every time he does something absolutely terrible. Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes number 1. This was hinted at by Brian Michael Bendis. You hoped that it was just going to be a 2 or 3 issue story arc within his Justice League series. But no, once again, they are giving him an event series. It makes no sense. We all wish we could have Brian Michael Bendis' job security, right? Like they're literally incapable of firing him for incompetence or creator malpractice for destroying so many destroying characters. In a perfect world, we would all have Brian Michael Bendis' job security. My goodness. Whatever. Superman and Robin special number 1 from Peter J. Tomasi. This will be the new aged up John Kent and Damian Wayne on an adventure together with Victor Bogdanovich on art. It's going to look fantastic. I love Peter J. Tomasi. $6. A lot of $6 comics from DC these days. As the Super Sons, John Kent and Damian Wayne put evil to bed past its bedtime, but a new day has dawned, and John Kent is now the Superman of Metropolis, all grown up and fighting for truth, justice, and the kinds of grown-up things that Superboy was only beginning to understand as a child. What? Now a ghost from John's past has reared its head, and to battle this evil, he'll need to reunite with Robin for one last mission into the heart of darkness. This time they'll be battling not as Super Sons, but as Superman and Robin. This thrilling adventure is written by Peter J. Tomasi. I think a lot of people will be very excited about this. I'm quite indifferent at this point. Peacemaker Disturbing the Peace number 1. I will absolutely be reading this. $7 for a Peacemaker one shot. That seems like they're pricing themselves out of the market. I don't think John Cena's that popular. Now we're getting into the Superbad stuff. That is, that's an interesting cover. Philip Kennedy Johnson. I think he's doing a pretty good job on Action Comics. Sean Aldridge on art. That's kind of a disappointment. I've really enjoyed Daniel Samperi. I'm sorry, Sean Aldridge is co-writing with Miguel Mendoza on art, who actually did a really good job on Justice League Last Ride. But I really have enjoyed the Daniel Samperi art, so it's a little disappointing he's not the interior artist. The World Saga Part 3, everything has changed after the heart-stopping events of Action 1037. Superman and the surviving members of the Authority see a side of World they never knew existed. In the catacombs, Superman finds another survivor of the last Pelosian race of Krypton. Yeah, we'll see. There's a very good chance that I'm just going to have to slide right off of this comic book in the not too distant future, as the World stuff sounded interesting in Future State. In all reality, the execution was actually quite poor. It's one of the worst comics I've read by Philip Kennedy Johnson. I don't know that he's going to turn it around. I'll give him a shot, but there's a good chance this guy kicks himself right off of the pull list. Aquaman, the Becoming number 5. Brandon Thomas. All roads lead to Exabel. There you go. We know that, I believe in issue number 6, he will become the full-time Aquaman, replacing Arthur Curry. Aquaman, Green Arrow, Deep Target number 4. I don't know. I just like that cover. It looks like a really cool G.I. Joe cover. Maybe not really cool, but cooler than most. We'll see on this one. Batgirl's number 2. Beck included Michael Conrad. Nah, they're not good writers. Batman versus Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham, number 5. Bill Willingham, absolutely. Everybody should be reading this and getting ready for the return of Fables to the DC Comics universe. That is a dope cover, too. You can see them trying to escape the pages of that book. That is nice. What does this say? The world-bending collision between Gotham City and Fabletown races toward its climax as two great detectives unite to unravel the bookworm's master plan and stop the bombings. But while their brains might be up to the task, the final act will require all their brawn as well. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That's a really cool cover, actually. You don't get cool covers very often nowadays. Blue and Gold, number 6. Dan Jurgens, obviously, with Ryan Sook on art. On his creation, hey, if you're enjoying this one, I've heard it's pretty good. I read a lot of comics, man. I just don't have time for all of them. DC versus Vampires, number 4. This is ridiculous. We've talked about it. There's no way that Superman could ever become a vampire. His cells are literally UV energy. If Dracula himself bit Superman in the neck, given the idea that he could actually pierce his skin, which I don't believe he would actually burst into he would be vaporized because of all the UV energy in Superman's body. And that's just all there is to it. So that's a ridiculous image right there. We'll see how James Tynion and Matthew Rosenberg do on this one. Batman has confirmed who in the Justice League has been turned into a vampire. Well, I'm going to say it's Superman and Wonder Woman since they have red eyes. I might be wrong. Deathstroke Incorporated, number 5. There was some confusion on this. They said it was going to be a 7-part limited series. Obviously, it was supposed to be an ongoing, and they say it is an ongoing, that this was a mistake. It is not a limited series. Green Lantern, number 10. Green Lantern started out good, but it is just, I'm off of it. I'm just shocked that JoJo Mullins or Teen Lantern aren't on the cover here. That's more like it. I was about to say, what the hell's going on? The art in this is absolutely terrible. It's way killed off the story. And we heard from Jeff Thorne specifically that this is not a JoJo Mullins Teen Lantern book. Well, it sure fucking felt like it when I quit reading it. God. Could you bait and switch me any harder while you're on Purchase Channel? Get out of here. Hardware Season 1, number 6. Brandon Thomas, Dennis Cowan, Bill Sienkiewicz. Harley Quinn, number 11. I can't stand Harley Quinn, and I can't stand Riley Rossmo, the artist, even more. So there's this series never stood a chance, and never. I don't even read this for This Week in Batman, and from what I'm told, I'm doing the right thing. And I don't think Josh reads it either. He said it's awful. Human Target, number 4. Tom King and Greg Smallwood. So there are 2 parts of every Tom King book that he writes now, because he doesn't write ongoings. He only does 10, 12-part miniseries. There's the part early that's kind of close to the middle where he destroys a character pretty good. And then there's another part on issue 10 or 11 where he absolutely vaporizes another character. Here at Human Target number 4, we're right in that window where he's going to destroy somebody. But we don't know who it is yet. Could it be Christopher Chance himself? Could it be Blue Beetle? Could it be another character in the DC universe where he's going to wholesale assassinate their character before really doing the goods on another character later on? We're not really sure. But it would be one of those guys. I guarantee it. This is right in that prime target issue, like 3 to 5. That's where he's going to just destroy a character. Want to know why? Because Tom King is a miserable writer. In my opinion. Justice League 72, one of the most unreadable comic books at DC. $5 for a fucking Brian Michael Bendis unreadable Justice League comic. That's where DC Comics is, and it appears everything they're doing is almost $5. Very few $4 comics anymore. A lot more $5 comics, and we're definitely seeing an uptick in $6 comics as well. Oh my goodness, this thing is awful. No Brian Michael Bendis comics is actually pretty good. Justice League Incarnate, I believe there's some delays on this thing about when it's going to come out. $5. God. Everything's $5. Looney Tunes. Now that's a pretty damn good cover right there. You got Bugs and Daffy, obviously wrestling. Yeah, here we go. While attending a professional wrestling event, Bugs and Daffy are handpicked by the audience to take part in the main event. That shit's right up my alley. You know what I'm saying? Nightwing 88. Man, what's wrong with Dick Grayson here? Does he not have enough machismo to just, grab a handful there? What's he doing clasping his hands when he should be grabbing some cheeks? You know what I'm saying? That's pretty disappointing. I thought Dick Grayson was a ladies' man. That's not how you woo the women. Obviously, we see Sear on that cover as well. Let's see. Is he getting spicy on the other covers? Nope. God, no. Don't buy that's the cover. But come on, just let him be a man. Grab some ass on that bad boy. Nightwing 88. Apparently, he's going to get his blue gloves back. That's the big thing. The thing to remember here is that's not a Dick Grayson move right there. You know what I mean? He doesn't clasp his hands. He's goes in for the full effect. He grabs two handfuls and he lets Barbara Gordon know what's up. You know what I mean? He's a sensual man. We all know that. So disappointing. Nubia in the Amazons. Stephanie Williams and Vita Ayala. Not my cup of tea. One Star Squadron. Mark Russell. Even worse. Ryder. Robin number 10. Now this is what we're talking about. So what do we got? We got some characters here. Josh Williamson. No Gleb Melnikoff. He's not even on the cover. That means he's probably leaving. That's disappointing. The Lazarus tournament is over, thank God. But Mother Soul is not going down without a fight as Damian Wayne battles for the fate of his family line. A last-ditch effort by an unlikely ally will lead to a major power shift in the DCU. It's Robin versus his powerful great-grandmother in a battle so gripping you'll need an extra butterscotch candy from her little dish to make it through. So Mother Soul apparently is Robin's great-grandmother. Kind of let that one out. Robin's number 3, Tim Seeley. The Mendoza line. Everybody knows what the Mendoza line is. It's essentially the worst that you can be and still be in the major leagues. Like you have to bat at least 207. If you drop below it, you're going to get demoted down to the minors. That's the worst that you can be as far as a hitter. Tim Seeley is the Mendoza line for DC and Marvel Comics. This is as bad a writer as you can be and continuously still get hired at DC and Marvel without being part of a special group. Tim Seeley is the Mendoza line. And then over at, over at Marvel, we'll say it's Matthew Rosenberg. You know what I mean? They're both 200 hitters. They rarely produce anything. Suicide Squad number 11. I've heard good things about this, but I have not committed. I should probably get it, but I'm finding it very difficult to get into comics right now, like into new comics. It feels like a chore just getting through all this Batman, X-Men stuff and all the new comics that come out in the week. And then the stuff that I'm already reading. So it's hard for me to add a comic that's already like 6 or 7 issues into its run. I should do it. People tell me it's good. Suicide Squad, King Shark, the Mendoza of DC Comics, Tim Seeley. I'll be all right. Superman 78. This is my lead pipe lock of the month. Best comic book at DC Comics is absolutely going to be Superman 78 number 6. This thing has been badass. This is the finale. And if you like Christopher Reeve's Superman, this is a comic book for you. If you like a real interpretation of Superman, this is the comic book for you. This is the only place you can go with DC Comics and actually get Superman right now. Even Philip Kennedy Johnson's Action Comics, which I like, that isn't Superman. He wouldn't work with the Authority. It's absolutely ridiculous. You want a real Superman, this is where you have to go. Unfortunately, it's over right now. Robert Venditti is my favorite writer for a reason. Nobody's ever batted as well as Robert Venditti does in Major League Baseball. You know what I mean? Tony Gwynn batted of like 400 one year, right? Robert Venditti's right, batting like 950. 1 out of every 20 comics aren't good or only good. The rest of them are all great. This is no exception. Lead pipe, lock of the month, lock it up. Task Force Z, Matthew Borzenberg, the Mendoza hitter from fucking Marvel, comes over to DC to swing and miss on Task Force Z. Eddie Barrows deserves better. Yeah, why even read it? Teen Titans Academy number 11. Tim Sheridan is one of the worst writers in both DC and Marvel. He's below the Mendoza line, i.e., he needs to be jettisoned back to fucking Humanoid or Black Mask or something. The Flash 778. This has actually been really good. Detective Chimp, I can do it. So, my apologies to Jeremy Adams. I was not speaking completely well of him earlier on, but he's actually doing a hell of a job. The best job he can with the Flash. Having traveled to Gem World by way of the second dimension, the Flash joins the Justice League Dark and the Princess of Gem World, Amethyst, in a race against time to thwart Eclipso's evil plans. It's probably going to be good, but man, that solicitation sounds awful. Wonder Girl number 8. I hopped off as soon as the Joelle Jones wasn't the artist. If they cared about this comic book, they would actually promote it. It is what it is. I'm sorry, our gang. DC Comics just never cared as much as you did. Wonder Woman 783, Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad again. They're just not good writers. Wonder Woman Evolution, Stephanie Phillips. Mike Hawthorne art should be pretty darn good. We shall see. Arkham City, The Order of the World. The very first issue was much better than anticipated. If you like a crime noir book set in Gotham with really no Batman, this might be the book for you. It's kind of interesting. Batman 89 number 6. Issue 1 was bleh. Issue 2 was awful. Issue 3 was redeeming. What's issue 6 going to be? I'm not really sure, but I'm halfway through, so I guess I'm pot committed. I will probably see this thing to the end. I thought the transition from Harvey Dent to Two-Face was actually done quite well in the last issue and was really good, really good, shockingly. Batman Urban Legends number 11. V.I. Allen, Mark Russell, Ram V. Like, why are you sandwiching Ram V in between all this not talent? It's so, it's depressing. Black Manta number 5. I've heard good things about this, but I haven't got to read it yet. Only the first issue's out. Crushing Lobo. Mariko Tamaki. You know, hey, I'm been sticking around for Detective Comics. That's about all I can do. Anything called Slow Plumber just isn't for me. Detective Comics 1047, as I already mentioned, will be the first issue of Shadows of the Bat. We're seeing Arkham Tower being erected. Detective Comics 1048. Future State Gotham. Giannis Milianis' art is some of the worst I've ever seen. Harley Quinn, the animated series, Ain't Bang Kill Tour. I'm all right. I Am Batman. The last issue, besides some absolute cringe, was absolute cringe, sandwiched in between some really cool Batman stuff. I don't know. I like Steven Segovia. Really wish he would continue on Hellions, but obviously he's done with that. So this has been mostly a miss for me as far as the Jace Fox's Batman stuff. The last issue was promising. I just can John Ridley not cringe himself out of DC Comics? We shall see. Justice League Infinity. Obviously, the continuation of the animated series. Justice League Unlimited. J.M. DeMatteis, James Tucker. Pennyworth number 6. I just can't do it. Robin and Batman number 3. Obviously, we've got a recreation of Death in the Family, but backwards. Jeff Lemire, Dustin Wynn, to reconcile his trauma and move forward on more toward an optimistic future. Dick Grayson must first confront the tragic past. Unfortunately, that first step includes a confrontation with an enraged Killer Croc who is out for Grayson blood. This action-packed issue concludes the epic tale of a young man learning to live and love in a nightmarish world. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries. My kid and I love these. They're actually pretty good. The Joker presents a puzzle box. This is, how Matthew Rosenberg continues to hit the Mendoza line. Every once in a while, he has an okay or decent, or this is probably better than that. This is a pretty good series that he's been doing. But don't get used to that. For the most part, he whiffs on everything. Joker number 11 continues to not be worth $6. $6 is absolutely ridiculous for that comic. Titans United, Gavin Scott. I read the first issue. I wasn't turned off by it. It was okay. That's your DC Comics solicitations. The lead pipe block of the month. Superman 78 number 6. Everything else, all bets are off. There's a couple of gems in there, but there's a lot of stinkers. DC Comics continues trending downwards. in January 2022. At least that's what appears from the solicitations. They're bringing on worse and worse creators. They're stealing the worst creators they can find from Marvel Comics. They brought in Matthew Rosenberg. They brought in Tini Howard. Expect a Leah Williams Batman comic in the very near future.